guys, TGmars here, and this is my first video in my series of tutorials about audio syncing in Adobe's After Effects. This tutorial is just going to go over the very basics. It's going to be quick, and it's just using the pre-built effects in After Effects for syncing. So you're going to want to make a new composition. Mine's just going to be 720p dimensions. Just name it sync. Then, so 30 seconds, that'll do. Alright, so we just create that. We then need to import some audio. So right click, import file. And I'll just go import Need Your Heart by Adventure Club. So I'll bring that in to my composition. And then make a new solid. So you can either right click new solid, or you can hit Control Y, and that'll bring up the new solid pane. So do whatever you want. I think I'll just stay with the very dark grey I've got there. Make sure it's the same comp size, the same as your comp size. Hit OK. So you put a new solid there. I'll just name that sync. Or maybe sync layer. So that's all good there. Now I need to bring in my effect. So you want to go up to the workspace, make sure this is on all panels. Go to your effects and presets. You want to go audio. Actually, you can just search for it. So just type in audio. And you do a space after it, so that way it knows that it's it's got two words in it. So you're left with two options here in the Generate tab, which is Audio Spectrum and Audio Waveform. Ooh, excuse me. So I'll drag in Audio Spectrum onto this layer. I'll also duplicate my sync layer. Oh, hang on. I'll duplicate my sync layer and then delete Audio Spectrum off it and put Audio Waveform on it. So this one, oops, sorry, we'll rename this one Sync Waveform, and this one is Sync Spectrum. Alright, so now we have two layers, waveform and spectrum. I'm just going to go through the settings and maybe something you didn't know about them. I mean, they're pretty self-explanatory effects, but there's some definitely things here that you can learn. So I'll just turn off my spectrum layer for the moment. Or, nope, turn off my spectrum layer. Alright, so just with the waveform. We want to set its audio layer property to your audio layer, which is Need Your Heart. The start point and end point are pretty self-explanatory. They're defined also by these movement knobs here. So, that'll make it shorter, longer. So we might make ours full screen. There we go. Okay, so now that's going all the way across our screen. Path, I'll get to later. Displayed samples is just how many, as we scrub along here, how many bars, so sort of how smooth, how accurate the waveform is. So I bump it up just a little bit. Maximum height is how high the waveform will reach. The duration is sort of how long, how much of the audio you're looking at. And the offset is the difference between when the actual sound occurs and when it's displayed in the waveform. The thickness is obviously the thickness of the line. The softness is, unfortunately, it's not the softness of the wave, it's the softness of the line. So it's just, how soft and clear that line is. So if we zoom in, and I'll put my quality up full. With softness on 0, you can see that the edges are quite sharp. If we put that on 100, you can see that it softens out there. Okay. The random seed is just generates a random number that bases the waveform of it. Still the same waveform, still synced, but it'll just give it its own unique, different look. Inside color and outside color are pretty self-explanatory. You can use the dropper here to pick a color from the rest of your composition. The waveform options here is whether you want to pull the audio out of the left, right, or both of the song. So at the moment it's on mono, and when your most modern songs are created with stereo audio, they have left and right. So mono is just merging them both, so you get a balanced waveform. You could say make two, one with left and one with right, so you could have them slightly different. Like say if your song have kick drums in the right ear and say snares in the left ear, you'd have them slightly different there. And your display option is whether this is... Whoa. No, I will keep that like that. The display options is whether, it's displayed as, lines, the waveform, or digital is lines. Analog lines is what we just had, and analog dots is like lines, but it's represented by dots. And composite on original is, if you noticed, the original solid was a bit lighter than this black, and when we imported the effect, it automatically decided to turn the background to the layer black. You can change that back to the original by hitting composite on original, and you see it goes back to the darker grey. So that's basically audio waveform, except for path. Path is whether you want to map your waveform to a path. So I'll just give it a quick RAM preview of what we've got so far. Okay, so that's what we've got at the moment, but if we put a path on this layer, so you want to go up here to your shapes tool, and you can do any of these tools, or say if I went to the polygon tool and I create what we traditionally would use to create a mask can be used to create a path for the waveform to follow. So now if we hit path and we choose mask 1, not much changes apart from this. Now when we've got the grey in the middle and the black on the outside, we can untick composite on original and you get that black. Or you can, if you wanted to keep it sort of solid, you can composite on original. But now you've noticed, as I preview it, you've got the waveform mapped to that path. So that's pretty cool effect. It's very useful when you want to create a shape. If you've seen any of Baker's Tut's sort of edits, he uses that a lot around the scope of a gun in Call of Duty games. He does a circle and then maps it to the scope synced in, so you have the audio sync coming out of it. So that's what you can do it with the shapes layer, but you can also do it with text by converting the text to a mask. You can also do it with the pen tool. Say if we create, instead of having a line, like a normal line, we could go and create a curve. Yeah, we could create a curve with the pen tool and then map that to that mask and then preview that, and you can see that it's again different and mapped to that. So that's the waveform. I'll just turn that off.